Mine. So Mirka, the floor is yours for the next 15 minutes. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to the presentations and welcome again. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas, for your introduction. And hello, everyone. The goal of my presentation is to explain the importance of good fundamental movement skills and to give an insight in the current situation regarding motor skills in children, both worldwide and the Netherlands. And here you can see the slide of the worldwide. In this review, studies from 25 countries that were published between 2014 and 2019 were compared to a reference sample from 1997. And the results show that there were less children who had above average motor skills and more children with poor motor skills. Next slide, please. In the Netherlands, we even see this decline from 1980. These two studies show a decline in motor skills and also in fitness for 8 to 9 years old children, even when corrected for height and weight. Next slide, please. In Amsterdam, we yearly measure the motor skills of primary school children since 2014 at 30 schools. And in this sample, over 12,000 unique children are included with the age range from 9 to 12 years old. And we use a traffic light system to categorize their motor skills. In green, which is age appropriate or above average. Orange is below average to poor, and red is poor to very poor. And you can see that on average, 16% of the children have poor motor skills, which equals around 6,000 young children in Amsterdam. And the fundamental movement skills we talk about are ball skills, bouncing ball, a one-leg balance, which the picture is disappeared, I see. And 2 locomotion tests, jumping coordination, in which arms and legs are combined, and a hopscotch over 9 meters. Next slide, please. When we follow these children over the years, we see that the 6-year-old children who already have poor motor skills at a young age, at 6 years old, 60% of them show poor motor skills 4 years later. Next slide, please. Here you can see from the children who show age-appropriate motor skills at 6 years old, 10% of them show poor motor skills 4 years later. Next slide, please. We also see some differences in Amsterdam. For example, the percentage of children with poor motor skills is higher in children with overweight and obesity. Next slide, please. And the percentage of children with poor motor skills is also higher in families with a lower socioeconomic status. Next slide. But when we compare city districts in Amsterdam, we see in the center where families with a high socioeconomic status live, and in the southeast where families with a low socioeconomic status live, both around 15% of the children with poor motor skills, while the percentage of children with overweight or obesity in the southeast is twice as high compared to the center of Amsterdam. Therefore, poor motor skills can not only be traced back to socioeconomic status, but also cultural and environmental differences play a role. Next slide, please. So to what extent is it a problem when children have poor fundamental motor skills? Next slide, thank you. Here you can see the model of Studden and colleagues, where motor skills, physical activity, physical fitness, and perceived motor competence are related and have a result on weight status. These relations are age dependent, and at the moment we are analyzing the change of these relations in our sample in Amsterdam. But as an example, 61% of the Dutch children meet the physical activity guidelines. And the percentage of children participating in sports is only 57%. Physical activity has been replaced for sedentary behavior. Children sit around 7 hours a day, which is 50 to 60% of the time that they are awake. And this is even higher for 12 to 18 years old. They sit around 9 hours a day. And in Amsterdam, even children are even less active than their peers in the rest of the country, because not even half of the children play outside for an hour a day. And in some districts, like the southeast of Amsterdam, it's only 42% of the children. Next slide, please. More simplified, the model of Student states that when a child is not physically active enough, the child doesn't develop good motor skills and therefore enjoys being physically active less, which causes a negative spiral on physical activity and health outcomes. But literature also shows a negative outcome on self-esteem, well-being, and social skills, because the child will less participate in fun activities like playing outside and all different kinds of physical games. Next slide, please. For example, this negative spiral is visible at the playground. Skilled children dominate the playground and dominate the playground rules. And during games such as football, soccer, how you call it, less skilled children hardly get the ball. And if they get the ball, a follow-up action is often not successful because of their poor motor skills and because of the pressure they feel. And as a result, it is even less likely they get the ball, and then you can see them drop out of the game. Next slide, please. And then we come to my take-home message. Please have an eye for less skilled children, because in every context they have less opportunity to be involved in physical activities. And as a result, they will not improve their motor skills. Thank you for listening to my presentation.